Frequency matters. Frequency matters. Frequency matters. Hello, and welcome to the Frequency Matters podcast.
Hi, and welcome. Today we have
Hi.
Sarah Crisp with us. And as you know, I'm your host, Kim Fendi, owner and sacred sound facilitator of Frequency Matters. And this is the Frequency Matters podcast. We're delighted to have you on the show today, Sarah. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Excellent. Well, if you'd like to just go ahead and kick it off, please introduce yourself. Tell us about you.
Great. Well, my name's Sarah, and I'm owner of Hummingbird Healing. I'm currently located in Crescent Springs, Kentucky, but I guess I'm dropping this for the first time publicly. I'm moving to a different office space in June, and I'll be in the Fort Thomas, Kentucky area, which is very close to Cincinnati, downtown Cincinnati. So I'm excited about that. It'll be a bigger space, and I can have other practitioners there. And
congratulations.
Thank you.
Very cool.
And I know, I'm just so excited, but I'm also really nervous. But I guess with any life change crossroads, there's a little good, healthy nerves to that.
Absolutely.
But so my journey started in 2017. Kind of tell you a shorter version, but my mom knew a lady at her work getting Rife therapy done and for fibromyalgia, and my mom was curious how that could help her, so she started to see this naturopath that was offering Rife, and then it just became like a family thing. She told my dad, and then my dad went, and then my husband went, and then I went, and then my sisters went. We just kind of all did it.
Awesome.
And that's so when she scanned me, one of the scans that came up was that I had the frequencies for breast cancer. So, which was a complete shock to me, because at that point I was eating what I considered to be pretty healthy. I thought I was pretty healthy, but I did have a level of stress in my life. I had 2 young kids. I was just always just super tired and worn out, but I thought it was just motherhood, So, yeah, everybody kept saying, "Oh, it's normal. You have 2 young children. Of course you're tired." But it didn't feel that it was related. My tiredness and lethargic feelings did not feel like it was because of that. It felt different to me. So it did make sense that there was something going on, that my body was working really hard. And so I decided at that point that, I did believe her, there was a sort of, whenever you get a scan like that, there's a belief system that you have to believe that has a weight to it, because you could go, "Oh, that's not true. I don't believe that." But, but there was also where I wanted like chemical proof, and I didn't really want to go through biopsies and CAT scans and MRIs and all this. So I ended up doing blood work on my own, which you can do at a website called requestatest.com. I ran breast cancer numbers, blood work on that. And I did get thermography done, which was what I felt a safer option than thermography. And both verified that. So that was enough for me to kind of back up what she said and go forward with trying to heal. So people ask, what stage were you and all of that. I don't really know. She guessed that probably it was maybe 1 or 2. It was early. Okay. It really wouldn't have mattered to me what it was, because I have had so many loved ones fight cancer and do chemo and radiation, and just watch them suffer horribly. And I just knew it really didn't matter. I wasn't going to do that form of treatment, therapy, whatever you want to call it. So, my life changed at that moment. I was all hands on deck, like changing my diet, to what was truly healthy, not what I thought was healthy, because I believe that one of the issues for me was just refined sugar, because it's in so many things. So I think diet wise, that was really important for me. I did increase fruit sugar. I don't feel like that was harmful at all. And still to this day, think fruit is probably the most healing thing you can eat. But eliminating just the junk, and was very, very disciplined and serious about my diet. I added in so many supplements. I was doing coffee enemas, B17, SEACT. I mean, just all the anti-cancer stuff. Fine. Researching, every minute I had spare, was watching documentaries, reading articles, books, whatever. I was just obsessed with healing. And because of that, it stimulated this passion for, the things that I didn't know. And I wanted everyone to know it, because this is so suppressed. And even, it's very difficult to find the truth. It's not easy. So you have to really fight for that and stick with it. And so long story short, after about 9 months of driving to Corbin to get, therapy and things like that, everything was fine. All my numbers were good. And I felt just so much better. The tiredness was gone. I felt empowered emotionally. And so that just became a journey for me to where I wanted to help people. And I went to Dr. Morse's school and learned about regenerative detoxification, and then trained with Rife, to like Rife practitioners, and True Rife, this is the Rife machine that I use, is True Rife, to just get knowledge on, sorry about that.
No problem.
Just get knowledge on how to use this and how to help people with it, how to scan people, that sort of thing. And then I officially opened in 2020. I would say 2019, I sort of started working with people, but officially in an office space 2019. And it's been amazing. So I've seen so many testimonials. I can tell you that changing your life, changing your health, incorporating frequency, it matters.
Yeah, frequency matters, huh? That's the name of our podcast and the name of my business.
I know, I love that. It's a great name.
Yeah,
it's a great name.
I'm so excited to have you on the show, because I've been aware of the Rife machine for probably as long as I've been playing with sound, so over a decade. But it was something like, well, that's very expensive. Let me see what I can do like at home, and like just playing around with creating my own frequencies here with the tools that I have. So I have lots of questions about how it works, but for the listeners that have never heard of this, can you talk about what the Rife machine is and does?
Yeah. So the name Rife comes from a person. Royal Raymond Rife was his name. He was a scientist, inventor. I would call him a genius, along with the likes of someone like Tesla. What he did for humanity will never be recognized.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, he should be given so many awards, and he should be a common name in people's households, just like Tesla, right? But unfortunately it's not, because he actually was helping people, he's actually healing people. But he sort of, his passion was finding out if a specific strain of bacteria would be behind cancer cells. So he started out with rats and mice and this sort of thing, and he was interested in this BX cancer virus, and he decided to put this virus in rats and then expose the rats to a frequency vibrating the same frequency as that BX virus. And because he was so incredibly smart, I mean, he had his own light frequency machines, he had his own microscopes that at the time, and still to this day, are probably worldly recognized for being the most advanced microscopes. So we're talking 60,000 magnification in the 30s. Nobody was doing that. And,
so 1930s.
This is in the 1930s. And, they had so many moving parts that just were not even heard of. So he was just a genius, but he had all this technology, and he was very interested in seeing if if he could place these rats with around the light frequency that was vibrating at the same rate as the BX virus that he actually implanted. So he knew it was in there. If it would go away, and it did. So then he had all this research, and
I have questions.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
How did he know what frequency the virus was vibrating at?
So with his technology, like his light frequency machine, he was able to count. He called them MORs, or MORs, mortal oscillatory rate. So everything has a frequency. So he was able to count how many times those vibrated. And the light itself, he could plug in that number to the light, and the light would rate, I guess, vibrate is the best word we can come up with, vibrate those same rates, the mortal oscillatory.
Okay. So the goal is to vibrate the same frequency as the virus or whatever is attacking the body.
Exactly.
Okay. So continue. Sorry.
Yeah. So, oh no, interrupt anytime. He got kind of some notoriety with people in the area. He was talking about this, and it made word around into I think it was San Diego University Hospital there. He was in San Diego. And they had some late term cancer patients. I think they were stage 4, and really were just given a go home to die sentence. And they said, well, there's this guy, Rife, and they contacted him, and he was willing to take on these human trials because these people were really desperate and they had no other options. So I believe he had 16 patients that were all stage 4 cancer. And in 12 weeks, 14 of the 16 were completely healed with his frequency generator. And then 4 weeks later, the other 2 were healed. So 4 months, and we're talking 16 people completely in remission. So this is what put him on the map. And I would say initially in a good way, and eventually in a very bad way, because at the time, especially in California, they were so excited that these doctors were throwing him banquets saying the end of all diseases is here. This is the title of these banquets. But at the same time, is coming to their, what I would say, to their start, their pinnacle. They're starting to minimize homeopaths, naturopaths, start in their indoctrination with medical schools and this sort of thing right at the same time. And unfortunately, a lot of scientists were paid off that knew Rife, that threw him these banquets. They were paid off, or they were forced to go to Mexico. Didn't want to be paid off. So his life story is really unfortunate, but that is where the actual machine comes from. And through the years, it's still survived. That's what I think is miraculous, is that his technology is still here. It's thank goodness for scientists that are willing to, keep it going. Because I am not a scientist or an engineer or anything like that. I have to help people, and I know this works. So thank God for the people that are continuing to keep this technology alive. But the bulb itself is a plasma bulb, Tesla technology. It's got it's a double bubble, and it's radiating these frequencies, or I would say vibrating the frequencies through the light.
Okay, what's double bubble?
So it's just 2 bulbs. You can't really see it. If I put it on its side, you might be able to see it. There's 2 bulbs inside instead of 1. Okay. But they're built in together.
Wow. So, okay.
And it also emits a little ozone. So like if you have somebody that's sick, you can run it with ozone, and it'll kill all that stuff. It'll kill mold in the air if you have mold in your home.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just leave it running, like you don't have to. So that, I guess my next question was always like, well, how does the machine administer the frequencies? And I think what I've looked up pictures, it looks like there's like handheld probes that you hold onto. So it's like actually a vibratory, it's not a sound, it's more vibroacoustics.
There is a little sound to it. It's not terribly loud. I don't know if you can hear it on your end. They've worked really hard to like mitigate the sound because they want people to be able to sleep with it and that sort of thing. But there is a touch of sound just because of the extreme power of the frequencies. But on this particular model, you can sit within 6 feet of it and benefit.
Wow.
And so like when I come to work, my desk is not that maybe 3 feet away from this. So even myself, now I will say, and this is something that Rife found out, is that so when his name kind of got out there and the US government decided to hire Rife to see if use Rife frequency as warfare. They wanted to see if they could actually give someone frequencies of anthrax or whatever. And so
then they
Rice,
would develop the virus.
Exactly.
So backwards,
So,
basically, for his intention.
Yeah, backwards, exactly. And he was given millions of dollars to research frequencies, though. I mean, it kind of backfired against him, luckily, because he gained a wealth of knowledge of frequencies that he would just not have had that money to take the time to learn those frequencies and have probably a staff of people helping him. So he gained something out of that. But what the biggest thing that we gained was that you can't give someone a frequency they don't have through light frequency. So for instance, like if I'm working with a client and I'm running a specific bacteria through the bulb, the frequency of a bacteria, I can't give that bacteria to myself. But the great thing is if I do have that same frequency, I will benefit as well. So you can't give someone a frequency they don't have, and you can't benefit from a frequency you don't have. So both sides of the coin.
So in his research, when he was hired by the government to give people viruses, that was unsuccessful. However, he got his library of frequencies that way. Is that correct?
Correct.
Wow,
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And I mean, it did backfire against them, but it tells you something, doesn't it? I mean, it tells you the heart of these people that are supposedly trying to help you. I think, we know that now, but a little bit more. But this is going on a long time ago. These are the same corrupt people running things. So when governments, unfortunately, they're tied in at this time since the 1930s with the pharmaceutical industries. So their allegiance is to each other. They're all tied up together. They don't want things like this out there.
Yeah.
So
do you have you run into any like resistance in sharing this information, any like being blocked by like social media when you post stuff, or I guess just in general your level of fear or concern that by you putting yourself in this position, are you kind of putting yourself at risk?
I haven't faced, I mean, I want to knock on something, right?
Yeah, let's knock on it.
I haven't faced a ton of opposition in the way that I think most people would associate. However, I'm pretty careful what I put out there. I work with clients one-on-one, and I feel like the people that come in here have a desire for natural health. They're not trying to I don't know. I guess I trust my clients, and I don't do a lot of advertising. I do put myself out there somewhat, but I don't have like this massive following or anything.
Not yet.
I'm pretty careful what I say and do in that way, but yeah, I do. And I also feel protected. Like I feel called to do this. I feel like God is protecting me. Beautiful. And he already knows like how I'm going to die and when I'm going to die. And like, there's really nothing I can do to change that. I just know I have to walk in what his will is for my life. So I feel protected and I trust God. And I just like, okay, here's a great story. This is why I'm so passionate about it. I know it's why you're passionate about frequency too. I had a gentleman come in January. He had stage 4 liver cancer, in his 70s. He had just lost his wife, and his doctors told him that he couldn't do chemo radiation. I'm not sure about surgery. That wasn't an option either. They just didn't think that for his type of cancer that would work, for his age, whatever. It just wasn't an option. So they put him on a transplant list. But even at that, he wasn't really like excited about getting a transplant, taking that healthy liver from someone that was possibly younger. He had lived a long life. So, but this guy had a fight in him. Ex-veteran, I could tell that he's a fighter. He had kind of just a good outlook on life. He was at peace either way. And so we just started working. He came in, he changed his diet. He went very high fruit, which was very difficult. I mean, you talk about somebody completely different. And he really took the reins, and he did a great job with his diet. He started incorporating all the anti-cancer stuff that I mentioned before. And then he bought a Rife machine. He started sleeping with it. We scanned him for all of his cancer the frequencies that would have caused or been behind some of these things. He started sleeping with it, doing foot detoxes every week. And he sent me a text this week after having his radiologist do a scan, and they cannot find cancer.
Oh my goodness. Hallelujah.
It's like April. I mean, this is 4 months.
Oh
4
my
months.
gosh. Congratulations. And like, how amazing.
Yeah.
That's so
I know.
incredible.
He did the work. It's like, it is work to change your life. It is a sacrifice, but you are not going to suffer. He didn't suffer one time because,
Wow.
You're healing. You're not suffering.
That's amazing.
It may not be easy detoxing the waste. Sometimes it's frustrating, but what real suffering is chemotherapy. I've seen it. It's real suffering, and so is radiation.
Yeah, I think it's really scary to be in a position where the doctors are telling you this is what you need to do, and then it's, even if you're doing alternate things at that time alongside chemo, I think it just does such a number on the body. That have you worked with anybody that's done Rife and chemo simultaneously?
Yes. Yeah, and that's, it's a personal choice, what the person decides to do. And the owner, of True Rife, he does say that when you do chemotherapy and you do Rife, you could, it's a balance, I think legally you have to be careful what you say. If you were to tell your oncologist that's administering the chemo what you're doing, they probably would have a severe problem with it. They even have a problem with bringing in more nutrition. It's like, no, you might actually negate the effects of the chemotherapy. So I think that you have to kind of be in charge of that as a person. Like, what I'm deciding. Yeah, you really do. If you want to do toxic chemo, then try to mitigate the effects of the chemo and boost your immune system, you kind of have to go at it alone. I mean, there's nobody that can really tell you how to do that but you. I can suggest to people what I might do for myself, but it is a difficult road. But I tell you, I have worked with a lot of people that have done chemo that are finished and then decided to clean up the mess with Rife. So that's also another possibility.
And you've had success with that?
Yeah.
That's
and
amazing.
I have one client right now that's still ongoing. She's in a really bad state because cancer's everywhere, but she's still alive. And they gave her 6 months or 4 months. I can't remember now, but she's way past that. I mean, she's at least a year past that. So I'm not saying that it will 100% of the time help someone, because it's determining on a lot of different things.
Sure.
But I mean, it's definitely an option, and
You're frozen. Can you hear me?
Oh
Oh, there
yeah,
you are.
okay,
There.
I
You
got
said
you.
it's a good alternative. I'm just filling in the blanks. What did you say? It's an option and it's a good
I said it's a good option. It's a
option.
good
Yeah.
option, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I have more questions. So I'm going to jump back
Okay.
to, you mentioned scan. You can scan the body and see if you have those frequencies. How do you do that?
So with the scanning, it's you've got a Rife bulb. It's a little different than this one. It's a spiral bulb, and we usually put it behind the back, so it's touching the skin, and it vibrates every 10 seconds a different frequency. And then you're holding an instrument in your hand, your non-dominant hand, that's measuring your central nervous system. So it's similar to lie detector technology, where it's based on a galvanic skin response. So for instance, when you're nervous or sweating, those are all skin responses based on your nervous system, and it will pick up like if the frequency is vibrating a parasite and your body senses that, it will pick that up, and it will alert the computer system. It's hooked up to a computer system that this frequency showed up. Now, it doesn't mean that that person has that pathogen or whatever it says. As a researcher or practitioner, you have to look at the whole of the scan. I mean, I put a lot of weight with whatever comes back. I'm very interested with what comes back, because I believe in the accuracy of it, but I'm also looking for patterns in what comes back. And specific to what they're there for. So we can customize, like there's so many different scans. We can, if someone has cancer, we can customize what frequencies we run or scan for, because these are the ones Rife found most prevalent with people with cancer, or these are the ones most prevalent with people that have Lyme disease or autoimmune, any kind of other autoimmune, or arthritis, or whatever you are particularly going through.
How about seasonal allergies?
For sure.
Yeah, you've had success with those? Well, that's so cool.
Yeah, and yeah, you can run different frequencies for anything. I mean, even emotional things. Like right now, what I have going through the bowl is more emotional stuff, just because I'm kind of going through some stuff where it's just been a hard week and I'm just feeling very overwhelmed today. And I was like, what frequencies could I benefit from? And these are working on adrenals. These are working on pineal and pituitary. It's out the stresses, my nervous system. So
that's awesome.
And it's I feel calmer. So that's the benefit, is looking at mind, body, spirit. How can we benefit the whole body system to functioning in this place of homeostasis? I mean, isn't that what it's about? Because when you're on one side of the coin or the other, someone with like depression or hypothyroid, they have no energy, you want to lift them up. But somebody that's hyperthyroid just has way too much energy. They're really crying out for balance, either side of the coin. Or someone that's just chronically stressed. And frequency can really do that. Even addiction, you can help people with addiction. It's just crazy. Like,
wow.
Yeah, the sky's the limit. And this is the problem, is like, we need more researchers. We need more people that are validating this and that are working with people doing it. And there's very, very few of us. Very few.
Really. I have so many more questions, but we could take a short little break and come back. And so you answered one of my questions, which was that it does work on the mind, body, spirit level. So there's literally a frequency for everything, for every thought, for every old belief, every emotion, like fear. If fear is constant in your body or in your field, you can literally play a frequency, or, well, not really play, but emit a frequency with this bulb that can help. Now, how much, so in my work with sound healing, I found that it comes a lot down to our belief system and our core beliefs. And a lot of what we manifest in our life and in our health is based on these core beliefs that we're holding. And one of those things, like conclusions that I've come to, is like, we can work with sound to remove things from your field, but if you're still holding that belief, it's likely going to come back. So do you do anything on that level to work with the core beliefs that may be creating these frequencies in the body in the first place?
Yeah, man, I'm glad you brought that up, because I totally agree. I think the mind is so powerful. And, one of my favorite examples of this is a documentary called Heal. And a doctor on that documentary, and I don't know if this is on the full, like the available for public documentary, but I saw this when they were formulating it for like specific subscribers. I saw I guess, a rough cut version of it.
Nice.
And I don't know if this interview made the cut, but this doctor, a guy came into the doctors to get a routine blood test, and they ended up calling him back, and you have cancer, you have 2 weeks to live. He died literally 2 weeks later. And months went by, and these doctors were going through paperwork, and they realized they called the wrong person. This wasn't the right person. They called this other person. And the guy that actually, got the call that wasn't the right person, he didn't even have cancer. He was totally fine. All his blood work was clear. And it when I heard that, I thought, the mind is so powerful. When you tell someone they have 2 weeks to live, by the way, that should never be told to anyone. But when you tell someone that, believe it or not, regardless what you have going on, you could totally die. So if you believe it, right, it goes back to your mindset. So, I do believe that in that particular place where they put so much authority on what that person said, that matters too, right? It matters your belief and where the information is coming from, the authority that you give that person. So, absolutely. I think it's funny because I can usually tell, I have pretty good intuition with people. I can usually tell if they bought in to what I'm saying, and if they're going to do the work it takes, right? Or if they are questioning, doubting, they're skeptics. I know. And it's not going to work with someone that can't wrap their mind around the fact that this works or doesn't work. They can't fathom that it works. So, well, it's not going to work for you. And so I do work on that. I would say that I desire people, and this is something I pray for. I pray for clients that desire to change their life. Because although I do motivate people, and that's part of my passion, but I want motivated people. Yeah. That's what I want, because it's a lot easier to take someone that's already motivated, already buys in, is willing to do the work, and take them to where they want to go. I'm not saying I'm unwilling to work with someone that's not, but it's just better. It's more fun,
Well, it's a lot of work to have a skeptic and try to change their mind, because I don't know if it's wasting time, but you're spending a lot of time that you could be working towards a resolution on, trying to change their mind, which that's, that's got to cost money on a session.
That's right. And I can tell when they leave, they're going to kill it. I had a recent girl, she just this darling girl, young girl, diagnosed with lupus in her teens, and just went through the rigmarole of the hospital. And oh my gosh, what they put the soul through is criminal. Eventually ended up giving her chemo for lupus. They're doing that now. And by the time she comes to my office, she is just, her body is just a mess. And she's so frustrated, and ran all these autoimmune scans on her, and not once did lupus frequency come up.
Oh
And
my
you know what? When I
goodness.
told her that, she goes, I always knew it.
Oh,
And I knew when she left, she's going to kill it. She is so pissed off. And
yeah.
that's going to motivate her, is that
Good.
I don't even have this stupid stuff. And I have this instead. I've got this going on. I need to work on this. And she's killing it. I mean, to tell you. So
Nice.
I just know, like, I love that. I love when I see the light bulbs going off and people are
No pun
taking
intended.
ownership. Yeah, exactly. And they're taking ownership of their health. They're going to be the CEO of their own health. That's what it's about.
I love that. Okay, cool. Another question, because there's so many in so little time.
Go for it.
Do you like, if I were to have every frequency that you can access, but from a tuning fork, and let's say I could just create those vibrations, tuning forks, singing bowls, do you believe that that would do the same thing? Or is there something different in the Rife machine that makes it work?
I guess that two things I would answer that. I do think that those are powerful tools. So I don't want to negate that. I would say that if you go back to the premise that you can't heal a frequency you don't have, and you can't give someone a frequency they don't have. So for instance, let's say you were really struggling with Epstein-Barr virus, and it's really debilitated you in a number of ways. So I want to be around that very, very specific strain frequency. So with the Rife technology, they go down to the thousandth of numbers. So like, it's not even whole numbers anymore. We're talking like, 1600.962, or I'm making this number up, but
okay,
so
it's
it
really
goes
specific.
to the thousand. It's very specific. And for someone with chronic Lyme, those thousands are everything. That's taking someone healing really quickly versus like, maybe that will work for them, maybe not. So that would be my first thing, is that when you're dealing with something specific and you know what it is, that's causing your problems, then getting very specific with frequency is important. And then the other thing would be the time. So if you purchase a Rife machine, for someone that has cancer or severe autoimmune, that might be a better choice for them, just because, cost wise, it might be a better choice for them. For someone that does not have something like that, coming to a session might be more cost effective. But if you have cancer or severe autoimmune, the sheer time that you need to be sitting with frequency is in the hours per day. So,
Really?
you probably aren't going to sit with tuning forks hours per day, but you
Okay.
could sit with a light, going on, or I have sleeping bulbs. So they're wrapped in plastic so that you could drop it, hit it with a hammer, roll over it. It's not going to break. So, it's still a glass bulb inside of it. But those are fantastic. Like my client I was telling you about that had liver cancer, that's what he was doing, sleeping with the bulb every night.
And how big is it? Like, how is this something that you can sleep with?
It's about, I should have brought it with me. It's about like maybe 18 inches long. And it's a round tube. It kind of looks like the tube at the bank where you put in the drive-through,
Yeah.
It's a little bit thinner than that, but that's kind of what it's like. You just hold it, put it behind your head, and then you ground yourself. So you can buy a grounding sheet or a grounding mat, but you definitely want to ground yourself. It drives those frequencies. Like for instance, if you had breast cancer, you could put the grounding mat like right on your chest and would drive all those frequencies to that area. But you can run pain, like for people with back pain, you could sleep with that grounding mat on your back and then run pain frequencies into the bulb at night. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, that would be my two things, is the sheer amount of time that people that are chronically ill would need. Someone that's healthy and that maybe needs to de-stress or work on a few things, the things you were mentioning would be completely wonderful. Is it going to heal someone from cancer or chronic Lyme? probably, I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah. What I've heard a lot about the frequency of 111 hertz for blasting cancer cells. Are you familiar with that frequency, or when you even use these frequencies, are there certain ones that you tend to use most often?
Let me look that up in my Rife manual. I don't know. What I tell people when they get their personal scan is I say, it's just a number. So, and everybody's numbers are different. Now, it's interesting when I scan husbands and wives or mothers and daughters and this kind of thing, you can go back and it's crazy, but you can have the exact frequency down to the thousandth. So husbands and wives,
Wow.
I think this would be a great tool to want to do before you would have sex with someone.
Compatibility.
maybe see what exactly is it going on inside of them before you choose to do, because you absolutely swap fluids, and those fluids can be full of all kinds of pathogens and ones that you probably don't want to be dealing with. So, and we know that because of the mother, lymphatically, you could also transfer that to your child. So that's why mother and child have so many frequencies that are exactly the same. Unfortunately or fortunately.
Yeah. That's so fascinating.
Let me look up. Hold on, I'll look that
okay.
111 up.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, let's see what that is.
Let's see your manual. How big is it?
It's actually just says H number 3, and I don't even know what that is. It's just a collection of like Rife frequencies. So like 521 is measles. That gives you an example. The thing that's kind of interesting is, let me show you an example. Now,
I'm sorry, you cut out. Can you start over?
What this means, and this is what I tell. Oh, sure. So I'm going to do 440 just for now.
Yeah.
So here's the number 440.
I'm glad you're doing
vibrates
that one.
440, and then all the options. So when someone gets in and it comes back and it says like 30 different things to be, it doesn't mean that they have all of them. It just means that this frequency vibrating can be manifesting in any of these ways. So it's the job as a researcher to look for the patterns when you have frequencies that can be that vast. For instance, this person could have vitiligo, they could have sinusitis, they could have coughing, diabetes, edema, fever, etc. So it could be a lot of different things. And at the end of the day, and it's just a number. So what I find really interesting is that the doctors, the whole medical system is big on labels and diagnosis, and you have this blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
With that comes just a stress alone, just to be told you have fill in the blank. When really it's not that, it's just a number.
Right.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a number in your body. Your body doesn't know that name that they've tagged on it. And you shouldn't think of it that way either, because it's harmful.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially once we start like down the like Google diagnosis.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I'm dying.
Yeah, I think it like the name for the medical field helps them know the symptoms that are associated with it. And then on the flip side, it helps them know the treatment that they've been taught to give, right?
Right.
But
the symptoms don't ever address the core issue or reason that you're having it.
Exactly. Symptoms are not enemies to be destroyed, but sacred messengers who encourage us to take better care of ourselves. John Gabriel said that. So when when you have headaches, the question isn't, where's my ibuprofen? The question is, why do I have a headache? We're in a different mindset in this country, and we need to catch up and wake up, because if you can find out, oh, I haven't had any water today, well, that may be why I have a headache.
Yeah.
Or I'm under a lot of stress, or I haven't eaten, or there's a lot of different things. We need to start going back with the timeline of our life and start putting in these markers that have changed. Look at the surgeries you've had, look at the financial stress you have, look at the loss and the grief you've experienced, and put those on your health timeline, because they matter. Why we have illness or dis-ease in our life is for many reasons, and we need to look at all of them, not just finding a treatment. Obviously, healing is what I desire for people, but you can heal from something truly. I like what you asked a while back was, it's just going to come back, right?
Yeah, if it's a mindset or core belief. Yeah,
exactly. Even cancer, if we want to use that word. But if you don't fix the chronic stress that led to that, it's just going to manifest somewhere else. So
right. And same thing with diet, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. 100%.
So you were saying you have to look at you were going to say.
Oh, I just would tell people, this is something you can do. It's free. Sit down, take some time for yourself, right? You're valuable enough to do that. Just take a few hours and sit with yourself, make a timeline of your life and the things that you think could have contributed to whatever it is, fill in the blank symptom that you wish you didn't have, and start the time you're a child and put on that mile marker, the losses that you've gone through, the financial strain, the relationships that were broken. These are emotional things that do manifest in unhealth. Put the diet that maybe wasn't so healthy, the surgeries that you've had, the medication you've been on, all of this leads to where we are sitting right now, right? So, and it's all fixable. Your body wants to heal itself. People, I do not buy into the philosophy your body's attacking itself. I will not ever buy into that, because our bodies are intuitive. They're always trying to heal ourselves. They're always fighting for us. They're fighting for you. So if that's a great point to your mentioning mindset and our belief system. If you believe that your immune system is attacking itself,
it probably is.
That's what they're teaching.
Right.
Yeah.
That's if you're told you have an autoimmune disease, that's what you believe.
Yes.
And even with like bacteria, you take probiotics to counteract the bad bacteria. We have good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. So
yes.
We're just taught that like there's just this constant battle going on inside. And what does that create is it creates a lot of disharmony.
Absolutely.
And disease. I loved this quote. The very first quote I saw on your website, when I clicked on, and I'm going to pull it up right now because I was like, when I click on Rife therapy, it says, Royal Rife says, if the human body is balanced in pH and nutrients, it is not susceptible to disease. So this is something that I've really been focusing on lately, is our water. The water that we drink, because I have a reverse osmosis filter because we have fish tanks. So I've always thought, well, it's really pure. But what I didn't realize is that it's actually stripping out some of the minerals and nutrients that I need. And when I drink that water, I think it's taking things from my body with it. So now I'm looking into like, pouring it through like an alkaline filter. But then I've also heard like, well, you don't want to drink too much alkaline water. So it's like, how do you know when you found this like great pH balance? Is there any way?
Wow, that's a great question. And I think you're spot on. People need to start with their water. That's so valuable. I love that quote, because we are chemical beings, but we're also electrical beings. So the pH aspect is the chemical part of your body, whereas frequency and light is more of the electrical part of your body. But okay, so I think that people should know that their blood system, which is your nutrient system, right? Nutrients are getting to your cells. It's your life, as we call it, the lifeblood. Your blood has to be at a 7.4 pH for you to be alive, right? So, it has to maintain that to some degree. It may fluctuate in hundredths, but it needs to be at a 7.4. So if you look at a pH scale, 1 to 14, 7.4 is right there in the middle, slightly alkaline, right? But it's not at a 14, because then you're talking liquid Drano, which you would never drink that. And then all the way at the other side of the spectrum would be something like battery acid, right? You're not going to drink that either.
Okay.
So, 7.4 is a beautiful number. And if you look up fruits and vegetables, especially, let me change that. Let's just look up fruits. Most of the fruits are between 6 and 7. And most of what I would call, you would think they're acid fruits, but they're actually not when they hit the body, like lemon. Lemon is actually a 7 pH. Watermelon, cantaloupe, mangoes, these kinds of things.
Wow.
So, people think you have to drink in the 12 to 13 range, but that's actually not very safe. You need to be in that range of where your blood is, your lifeblood is, right? Now, looking towards the one side, chemotherapy is between a 2 and a 3. So, that's very harmful to your body. Things like soda, tobacco, coffee, turkey, pork, these are ones. So, very, very harmful to the body. So what happens is, over time, you're dumping these low pH acids into the blood, and the blood has to balance. It has to be a 7.4. So guess what it's going to steal? It's going to steal the most alkaline thing in your body to create homeostasis in the blood, and the most prevalent place they can, which is calcium. So it's going to steal your bones, your teeth, your calcium. So your blood's going to rebalance, and the body is, like I said, is always trying to heal itself. It's pretty resilient.
Wow.
But you'll see this over time. People have bone loss, they have varicose veins, they have brittle nails, they have hair falling out, tooth decay. It's a lifetime of the blood just constantly stealing alkalinity, we'll say, to rebalance those acids. And if we would eat a diet that's conducive for what the blood needs, we would stay, and what Rife was saying there, we will stay in that perpetual healing mode, right? We won't be needing to steal things that our body needs. And then, not to mention that, but that puts a strain on your parathyroid glands, because they are all behind calcium production. So, you want to, people now, they radiate their thyroid. Most people are on Synthroid, which is a synthetic version of the hormones your thyroid produces. And it's because of this very thing, right? They just need to quit eating an acid diet. And for the people that promote paleo and keto and this sort of thing, that is, especially keto. You can make an argument for paleo, but keto is very acidic to the body. So over time, people want to do it for weight loss. Okay, that's your choice. But if you do this for your lifetime, you're going to pay for that.
Wow.
One way or another. Yeah.
That's so fascinating. Seems like there's so much opportunity in just teaching, from a social education perspective, hey, this is what a proper diet looks like. This is important drinking water. And then we don't have to focus so much on all the healing, because we won't have all the issues. How nice would that be?
You're so right. It would be great. And you have to know, people have to know that the reason why they're pushing a high protein diet is to keep you sick and dependent on medication, because it will take your kidneys down. And if your kidneys aren't functioning, you can't detox. So there's a reason for these, people that are supporting and protecting these organizations like the USDA and the egg industry and, the dairy industry. there's a reason why there's so much money involved in that. And I believe that it's tied up with the big pharma because, why is the government making it really, really cheap for people to eat like that? You can eat a lot cheaper at McDonald's than going to Whole Foods and buying fruits and vegetables. That doesn't make sense to me.
Right. It's a sad state of a broken world.
Totally. But we get to decide, everyone listening gets to decide how they live and how they eat and how they think and how they breathe and what they drink, the water they drink. So, that's collectively we get to take it back if we make the right choices, and then the healthcare options begin to change. Everything, our environment begins to change. So I do believe that people are gaining more interest in natural health. I do believe that. And I just hope that people will make that choice for themselves, the right choices, because like I was saying before, it's not the path of suffering. Like, you will suffer the other path, and it may be sacrificial, but it's not the path of suffering. It doesn't have to be. You can live a beautiful life and feel good every day, if you were to get out the waste. That's the other thing, is that most people that I see, this is true, have never cleansed their body. Never. Not one parasite cleanse, not one bowel cleanse, not one liver cleanse, nothing. That's shocking to me when we clean our cars and our air conditioning units twice a year and our oil change every so many miles. Like, seriously, your machine that's running your life for you, you're not even going to cleanse it? We should not require as a mandate, but we should highly suggest a yearly parasite cleanse for every human being.
Wow. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, it's a toxic world. I mean, we do that. Farmers do that for their animals. They deworm their animals all the time.
Wow. I'm writing that down.
So it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. And if we're putting so much faith in our body's ability to do that, why aren't we trusting it to also heal us and work for us in our favor, rather than like putting all that power and authority onto someone else?
That's right. So, hey, it's hard to go out there alone. Sometimes you do feel like the lone soldier, and sometimes it's lonely, right?
Yeah.
You talk to, it's like they don't agree. They're on it's okay though. It's okay. Yeah. It's good to be. What's the theme in Austin, Texas? It's good to be weird, or something like that.
I don't know, but I like it. That's my motto. Weird is different. Different is good.
Different is good. I mean, yeah.
Well, I want to be respectful of your time, and I think we had a 3:00 cutoff, so I will wrap this up. But I'm so grateful for all that you've shared, and even just demonstrating the tool and just talking about all this amazing stuff. There's so much that we can learn just about how to take care of our bodies and just alternative ways of dealing with health issues, and just thinking about, why is our body attacking ourselves? It's mainly a pH issue. So if we could focus on that as a humanity, wouldn't that be amazing? But I'd love to pick your brain some more about diet and all that stuff. So maybe we could do a follow-up in the future, or
absolutely, I'd love to.
Continue to stay in touch, because this has been so fascinating.
Well, I hope that your podcast takes off. I think it's a great name and it's a great idea, and hopefully we've inspired the future up and coming, practitioners that want to venture out into frequency. So
for sure. I know I'm interested. I want to learn more about it. I want to come see it. I want to learn how to use it. And I could see myself doing that one day, because I do feel like, I have a bunch of tuning forks and I have singing bowls and stuff, but they are one specific frequency, and I can't change that. I could just get more tools. So like with something like this, you have access to that whole range. So
it'll just open up a different level, and there's so many people that need healing. So That's my hope, is that, especially young people, they need to know that this is a viable option in healthcare. When people are deciding what to do, um, for their life, they leave high school and they're thinking, maybe there's somebody listening that's like, I really want to help people, but I don't want to go through medical school and prescribe toxic pharmaceuticals. The sky is the limit. There are so many options. And I'm not saying you don't need to be educated. You need to know about the human body, and you need to study, and there's trainings and certifications for that sort of thing. But just know that there's more options than the typical healthcare model.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, we can pray for the future, because I think that
Yes.
it is, we know it is bright, and you keep doing what you're doing, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing, and try to touch
That's
as
right.
many lives as we can.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And if anybody, I'm at hummingbirdheal.com.
Yes, please
And
share all your info. I forgot to ask that.
That's okay. Yeah, if anybody wants to get in touch with me, if I didn't answer any questions, if they have more questions, you can email me at Sarah, SARAH at hummingbirdheal.com. On Facebook at Hummingbird Healing, and Instagram at Hummingbird Heal. Just to confuse people.
I love it. I'm definitely going to share this episode with a couple people I know that I think can benefit from it. But like you said, it's good. It's going to be up to each individual whether or not it's something that they are willing to explore and accept, because it's not either my job or your job to convince people. I think we're past that phase where we're doing it. We know it works, and people just have to do their own research and give it a shot at this point.
That's right. Well, I thank you for interviewing me, and thank you for what you do. And the sky's the limit for you too. I'm excited to see what you do.
Thank you so much. Many blessings to you, and have a lovely day.
You too. Thanks, Kim.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This concludes episode 5 of the Frequency Matters podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you have learned something interesting, and perhaps you've thought of somebody who may benefit from this information. Please like, subscribe, and share so we can get this information out to those who need it. Have a blessed and beautiful day. Frequency matters.